Hello and welcome guys to this session of easy classes. If you like our videos, you are requested to please subscribe the channel so that you never miss a video whenever it is uploaded on our channel easy classes. Okay, topic for today's video lecture is marginal efficiency of capital. But before I proceed on to discuss marginal efficiency of capital, I would ask you to please recall the concept of aggregate demand. Because in the Keynesian model, aggregate demand occupies a very significant position because his model is a short-term model. And according to Keynes, that in the short run, it is only the aggregate demand through which you can stabilize the economy. Whether economy is in imbalance because of the inflationary pressure or because of the deflation or depression. Okay, so it is only through the aggregate demand, as the factors on which the aggregate supply depends, they are fairly stable in the short run. Okay, so it is necessary for us to understand as to what aggregate demand is composed of. Okay, so aggregate demand, if you recall, let me change the pen. Aggregate demand, we have seen, is equal to the consumption plus investment plus government expenditure. We are taking the consumption of all the individuals, I mean the private sector, investment and the government expenditure. Government expenditure is also in the form of either consumption expenditure or investment expenditure, but in different form, and the determinants are also different. Okay, that is why we put government expenditure simultaneously, and it is the government expenditure where the autonomous investment can be undertaken, not in the private investment. Okay, plus you can add the net foreign demand for our product, that is export minus import, but I am not going into it. Earlier we have seen consumption function, how what determines the consumption function and what are the factors on which it depends, what determines the form of consumption function, what are the factors that may cause a shift in consumption function. And from that it appeared that it is very difficult to stimulate consumption in order to raise the aggregate demand. Now today we will understand as to how the aggregate investment in the economy is determined. Okay, so today's topic is basically the investment demand, and for which a concept of marginal efficiency of capital as introduced by Keynes is to be understood. Okay, for the moment forget about that we are discussing the macroeconomic question. Consider an individual, you may put yourself in the place. For example, if you have to undertake an investment, what are the factors that you will be considering? I mean, your objective is to ensure that it will result in the profit to you. So profitability is the prime motive for the individual. Okay, so how would you go about it? You will consider whether a particular investment will be profitable in the sense that the cost of the capital equipment, other necessary expenses on that, plus a particular equipment or machine that you have bought, what amount of output that you will receive in the time to come, what is the price at which you will be selling it. So you will continue to receive certain amount of income from, or certain amount of output from the if you multiply it by the price at which it will be sold, you can come to know as to what amount of proceed that what amount of cash inflow will be there because of this machine. Okay, that can be calculated as to what amount of output will be produced annually, at what rate you are expected to sell at it. So if a particular machine has the 5 years of its 5 years as its lifetime, so how much you will be receiving in the first year, second year, third year, and so forth. You can extend it to n number of years depending upon as to what is the annual what is the life span of the machinery. You can take into account that after that its value will be zero. that machines, or it does not have the scrap value. Or you can extend the model to include the scrap model as well, but that will not influence this model in any significant way. So let us consider that after its tenure, that capital equipment or that machine does not have any value. It is reduced to the value of 0. Say for example, if the machine's life span is 5 years, so it will yield in the first year, it will yield in the second year, third year, fourth year, and fifth year. After that, its value will be reduced to 0. So the person who is going to invest in it, he will have to take into account as to what is the value of this machine to him. Okay, that means he will be spending certain amount, whether he borrows or invests from its own. Okay, so obviously whatever it will be, whatever this fellow will be getting in the first year, in the second year, I mean, this is the income that he will be getting in the future. So you need to discount it at the rate of interest in order to find the present value, because rate of interest is the cost of capital. Okay, so value of the capital will depend on this. Now, why did I mention that example of individual? Because it is the aggregate of all the individuals that will determine as to what will be the investment volume in the economy as a whole, and how the investment in the economy will proceed. Okay, so now consider in the economy, suppose value of the capital to the investor will be what one receives in the first year, and it needs to be discounted, suppose at this rate. Okay, because this R is rate of interest, which is nothing but the cost of capital. Okay, so proceed in the first year and discounted at certain rate, which is the rate of interest, R2 R square. Why? What is this basically? We are getting the present value of the future income, just opposite to what you might have learned in your school mathematics, where you used to calculate the compound interest rate, where you calculate the future value of the present amount. Okay, so it is just opposite to that. Plus, you may extend to it Rn over 1 plus Rn. So this is the value of the capital for the investors. Okay, so whether or not he will be interested in this on the basis of this calculation, obviously there are certain uncertainties, so you will have to assume that for example, it is taken for granted that what amount of income will be received, or what will be the, when I refer to income, that means the cash inflow. Okay, for example, that will depend the output level plus the output level and the price at which it will be sold. So assume that it is calculated and estimated properly. Okay, so there could be deviation, but we assume. So you know as to at what rate, and each year you will be discounting it at a certain rate in the manner as you find the present value of the future income. So that is the value of that machine for the investor. Now, but what is the supply price or the replacement cost? Okay, here you will take into account, or the prospective investor, okay, as to what is the price of the machine or supply machine, or the replacement cost of that. Okay, for that, a concept that was added is like that. Here V was value, R is rate of interest, and R, this capital R is the cash inflow from that investment. Suppose C is the replacement cost or the supply price, and that can be taken by, here I am using I instead of R. What this I is the discount rate. Okay, this is a certain discount rate at which, if the series of the annual cash flow is discounted, it will make it or it will equate it to the supply price. Okay, so in other words, this discount rate, which Keynes called marginal efficiency of capital. So the MAC is a rate at which a series of annual cash inflows from the capital asset is discounted to make it equal to its supply price. Okay, so this I is basically marginal efficiency of capital. Now few things need to be mentioned. That means if this I is greater than this rate of interest, because that is the cost of capital. So if it is greater than the rate of interest, only then it is worthwhile to go for the investment. Okay, or at least it should be equal. Now, why do we call it marginal efficiency of capital? Because if the return is greater, then obviously you will have to discount it at a higher rate in order to equate it. This is not the rate that is being paid to someone. It is the rate at which decision whether to invest or not is based. Okay, this decision is taken on this rate. So this is, you can say, a calculated rate. It is not the one that you will be paying to someone. This is the rate that will indicate as to what will be the rate of return on the capital. So if I is greater, that means this R, that is the annual receipt. Annual receipt is greater, that you have to discount it at some higher rate in order to equate it to the cost. So the ideal thing for the investment to go through will be where I is greater than R. Okay, and the point where both are equal, there is a state of indifference, that is whether to invest it or not. But if I is greater than R, that means this investment is worthwhile to go for. So that is the concept of marginal efficiency of capital. My own experience as the student and my observation as a student and teacher to the undergraduate and the master's classes suggests that this is the topic that put the students under a lot of strain to sometimes they confuse the discount rate with the rate of interest, etc. So you must be very clear that MEC, or the marginal efficiency of capital, is not the rate of interest. Okay, it is that discount rate that will equate this series of annual return equal to its supply price. One more thing that needs to be mentioned, because whenever this term will come to you, you may again begin to be confused, and that is the marginal efficiency of investment. Okay, there is a very small difference, because if marginal efficiency of capital is this and rate of interest is the one, because these both are the factors. So what is it on which the marginal efficiency of capital depends? Marginal efficiency of capital depends on what is the prospective yields. This is nothing but the prospective yields. Okay, the annual series of return, this is the prospective yield. Okay, and this is the supply price. These are the two things on which the marginal efficiency of capital value depends. So investment depends on the rate of interest to know as to whether the investment will be worthwhile or not, considering the cost of capital and the investment, which is the rate of return in that sense. So you can let me mention it, that will be better. So investment in a sense depends on the one hand on marginal efficiency of capital and on the other hand on rate of interest. This R is rate of interest, this one. Okay, and marginal efficiency of capital in turn depends on supply price and prospective yield. So this is your supply price and this R1, this is your prospective yield. Okay, now in view of this, you can very well, so the diagram showing the investment demand schedule should be like this. Here on x-axis we measure the investment demand and on y-axis we measure marginal efficiency of capital and rate of interest both. As I have mentioned just a little while ago that marginal efficiency, investment demand depends on marginal efficiency of capital and the rate of interest. Okay, so investment demand is likely to have this shape in the investment demand curve, because as there will be more investment, it is expected that the annual receipt may come down, maybe because of the competition that I mean you are not able to sell the product at the price. I mean something will occur as more and more investment, and that will result in marginal efficiency of capital to discount the rate at which you will be discounting this prospective yield to make it equal to supply price. That will go down. Okay, so investment demand obviously will be affected. So marginal efficiency of capital will be this schedule. As yet it is not investment demand. Okay, but you have to factor in the rate of interest. That suppose rate of interest is this. This rate of interest will mean that investment demand will be this I star. Okay, because at this rate of interest MEC and rate of interest are equal. MEC cannot go, I mean the investment demand cannot go beyond this at this rate of interest. If more investment is to be undertaken or if more demand for the investment is to be generated, then rate of interest would have to fall. Say for example, if rate of interest falls from R to R1, this will raise the investment demand to or I should call it IDI. Okay, so this makes it clear that it is the marginal efficiency of marginal efficiency of capital and rate of interest together determine the investment demand in the economy. Now one more thing, let me mention that also. There is a slight difference between marginal efficiency of capital and marginal efficiency of investment, because marginal efficiency of capital does not factor in whether the asset cost will also go on increasing as there will be more and more demand. So if that is factored in, you may find another marginal efficiency of capital type curve, but that will be a flatter one. That will be marginal efficiency of investment, because that will be taking into account the rising price of the asset, or the supply price you can call it, or replacement cost you can call it, because investment demand increase means the greater demand for those assets also. That is why marginal efficiency of investment schedule has to be steeper than this is, I should call it, marginal efficiency of investment, this curve. Okay, so guys, this is about marginal efficiency of investment is the concept that was brought in later by K. Balding. Okay, so guys, this is all about marginal efficiency of investment. But one more thing I should mention at this stage, that it is clear from this that it is the rate of interest that would need to be brought down if you have to generate more and more investment demand in the economy. Okay, prospective yield is difficult to be raised, okay, by the government policy or such. I mean, or at all, if at all that is possible, that would be through a very complicated procedure. Okay, even as to what will be the increase in the investment demand as a result of fall in rate of interest will depend on as to what is the elasticity of the marginal efficiency of capital, or if you are taking into account the marginal efficiency of investment. So it was also suggested by the Keynes that it is very difficult to bring about the calculated change into that. Okay, so guys, this is in view of this, that consumption function cannot be influenced that easily, because the factors that have been outlined by Keynes that would cause the shift in the consumption function, we have already discussed. Investment demand, private investment demand from the private sector cannot be shifted like that. So it is only left for the government sector to undertake the autonomous investment, because the private sector will always be going for the induced investment that could be only through the either the increase in marginal efficiency of capital, but that could be that could depend on the factors that I mean, through public policy it would be difficult, and or the rate of interest that government can do it through the monetary measures. But or to what extent the reduction in rate of interest will bring about the addition to the aggregate investment in the economy will depend on the elasticity of the marginal efficiency of capital curve. Okay, so guys, thank you very much for patiently listening to me.